Oh. Story time. So I was working in this clinic. It was a travel contract of mine, and I was working with a physician who was seeing pediatric patients. So the way this clinic was set up, you'd come in, you'd get your doctor assignment. You'd either be working with Dr. A, Dr. B, Dr. C, Dr. D, whatever. Whomever you're working with, if you've been there for long enough, you know what kind of personality you're working with. You know what this doctor expects, how they want certain things set up, yada yada, daga, da. Okay? So I actually wasn't necessarily working with this doctor. I was covering. So I was a charge nurse, a position that I was refusing to accept. I would have much preferred to just get my patients and do my job and go home. So I was covering for a nurse. And at one point, the doctor had started calling out orders. I hate when that happens. I would much prefer to see the order either written down or in the computer, because if something happens and the doctor's like, whoa, I never told you that, it's their word against yours. So anyways, it's okay. Because at the time I was like, okay, it's not just me in here, it's me and a few other nurses. And we are all familiar with this doctor's personality. Remember what I was saying before? There's Dr. A, B, C, and D, and you become familiar with that doctor's personality, okay? So she starts sort of calling out numbers, and one of the orders that she had spewed out was a Tylenol order, right? And the way dosing works with children is weight-based. So it's always a certain amount of milligrams or grams per kilogram. So you have to measure the patient in pounds, and then convert it to kilograms, and then see what the appropriate dose is for that medication per kilogram. You do all the math, and then you come up with the dose. Except as a nurse, I don't come up with the dose. The doctor comes up with the dose. I take a look at it, I say okay, and I go administer it. I don't get to prescribe as a nurse. I do not create the dosage. I calculate it, and then I administer it. And then if there's an adverse reaction, I'll communicate that with the doctor. See, in clinics, there's not as much autonomy for a nurse. In the hospital, there's a lot more thinking on your feet and critical thinking. So here in this clinic, again, I'm just covering a nurse that was initially working with this doctor so that she could go on lunch and this doctor can continue to see patients. So I am listening to all that she's saying. I'm writing it down. I have it in my hand what I'm going to do. And so then at one point she's like, wait, what's X divided by Y? X is a number and Y is a number. I don't remember what the numbers were, so we're just going to pretend that X is a number and Y is a number. And I pull out my calculator because I don't have the time to do math in my head. I don't. And I give the answer and she's like, okay, so go ahead and administer, I don't know, 200 milligrams, whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe like 3 other nurses is in there with me, working with other doctors. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go do what I have to do with this patient, with some other patients, look at the other orders that are placed. I'm doing my job. I'm doing my thing. I come back and another nurse that was working, who was my supervisor, comes and hands me the phone and says, hey, the director wants to talk to you. I was like, okay. Cool. And you know how sometimes when you know you did something wrong, you immediately get nervous because you're immediately thinking, damn, they know, but I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was where I was supposed to be. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was clocked in, on the clock, working. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. It's probably just a question. I don't know. Charge nurse related question. I don't know. Your girl, me, I'm your girl, gets on the phone. And the director immediately delves into, hey, Ashley, you know, things like this happen all the time. All I need you to do is file an incident report. Okay, what happened? And she's like, well, you know, I know that things like this can be a bit traumatic, but you did administer a larger dose than what was ordered. Ma'am, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What patient are you referring to? What medication are you referring to? What dose are you referring to? What are you talking about? And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought that this was all disclosed. And then she starts to go into detail. Apparently, I administered the wrong dose of Tylenol to this patient. You remember when I said that the doctor called out some numbers, told me to do math, and then said, okay, 200 milligrams to this patient in this room. And I said, okay. So I said, excuse me. I just went ahead and laid everything out. I said, first and foremost, we had a conversation. A confirmation took place. I repeated the order back to the physician. At no point did she say to me, no, don't do that. And then I just decided, I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm gonna do what I wanna do. At no point did the doctor say to me, we're not gonna do that, instead we're gonna do this. And she was like, well, I said, I took the phone away from my ear and handed it back to my supervisor and then went to go talk directly to the doctor. I said, at what point were you going to tell me that you wanted me to administer a different dose? And she was like, well, when I asked you to do the math, you gave me the wrong number. I said, no. When you asked me to do the math, I gave you the number that the calculator provided. And then when I walked away is when you realized that you gave me the wrong numbers. You are the doctor. It is you that provides the order. Now, let's just boil it down a little bit here, okay? We'll get back to the story. The patient was overdosed by like maybe 5 milligrams, okay? And I understand that we're talking about children, but let's keep in mind, it is a child, the liver is not broken, and it is only at that point that you become concerned about a Tylenol dosage. Well, no, not only at that point. There are times when, if the child swallows the whole bottle of Tylenol, yeah, we have an issue. But we were nowhere near that. Nowhere near that. So were things being blown out of proportion? Absolutely. Did this doctor panic and then immediately try to throw me under the bus? Absolutely. That's genuinely what I believe took place. So then I said, listen, in the future, it would do you justice to communicate with me before you call the director. You jumped through so many chains of commands. You just went straight to the head honcho and made it seem like I decided to do something of my own free will. Like I just decided that today I'm going to be the doctor. Very inappropriate, very unprofessional, and I don't appreciate it. Well, I'm just saying, No, there's nothing that you can say. Everything that took place here was a lack of communication, and you got scared. So I said to the supervisor and to the medical director, I am not working with this doctor anymore in the future. It is not happening. I am not going to put myself in a position to risk my license because this individual is afraid to risk her license. And instead of just coming to terms with what took place, she's just going to throw somebody else under the bus. How is that okay? Ooh, y'all, I was heated, and I made it abundantly clear that I was heated and that I was not satisfied with how things went down. So that conversation was had. Another private conversation took place, and it was expressed that as long as this contract continues, I will not be working with this doctor. No. Lesson learned, though. And yes, there is such an order as a readback order. There is such a thing as a telephone order. There are times when a doctor can just say an order to you and give you the permission, the authority to put the order in under their name. That is legal. That can take place. And then you would put it in as a readback order or a telephone order, indicating to the system that this wasn't actually written by the doctor. I don't like those kinds of orders for these reasons. For these specific reasons. There was another scenario where something similar happened and I was in an emergency room setting. That'll be another story for another day. But it's just another example. I don't like that when shit hits the fan, the nurses get hit with it. That's not fair. And again, unprofessional, inappropriate. I wasn't having it. I was not having it. So let us go ahead and talk about some more positive things. Okay. Oh no, hold on. I just turned it off. Never mind, forget it. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to set the mic down. Oh, hello. Ah, it works. Just kidding. I didn't turn it off, but I did get lipstick on it. Okay. Positive announcements. Zyla. Z-A-I-L-A. That is my storytelling podcast, and it is doing wonderful things for us. I love that there is a beautiful budding audience where that podcast is concerned. It is erotic. It is sexy. It is mysterious. It is suspenseful. It's a thriller. And I know you're going to love it. So if you haven't delved into it yet, go ahead and do so. I'm going to leave the link below for your clicking. I do have merch that will also be in my link tree. If you guys want to go ahead and take a look at that, go ahead and do so. I post up close and personal podcast conversations on my Patreon, exclusive updates on the projects that I'm working on. And you guys should go ahead and subscribe to that. And when you take a look at Zyla, my podcast, which is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, Buzzsprout, it is available for you. Go ahead and subscribe there too. The subscriptions are really helping us come together and build something bigger. So, help your girl out. Thank you for your support and your patience for me bringing up this content, creating content for you guys. And if you like my glasses, use the discount code PAIGE10, all one word, on Zilul. Okay?